Coming up on today's show, I want to react to some NFL insiders who talked about Denver's draft picks, their grades, their thoughts on that. I'll share that with you all. Plus, John Franklin Myers, the 7-sack man last year, is looking for a new deal. We've got a little bit of an update on that front. But if you haven't yet, click that like button down below. I would love to get to 300 likes on today's episode. So, let's talk about what some of the talking heads across the NFL are saying about the Broncos 2025 draft, because it has not been, received well by everyone. There's been some optimism for sure. There's some people that like what Denver did, but I think we can all agree that the general consensus is there is no consensus, right? There is no, singular grade that everyone is giving the Broncos. We've got a wide range of opinions on what George and Sean Payton did in this year's draft, going with a punter in round 6, a basketball player in round 7, and then waiting until pick 60 to get a running back. But I saw a few little excerpts from some talking heads that I thought you guys might get a kick out of here. This one coming from Sports Illustrated, where Matt wrote, many expected the Broncos would upgrade their offense in the first round, but Denver decided to continue building its top-tier defense with Barron, a slot corner who will form a tremendous trio with Pat Surtain and Riley Moss. And I completely agree with that analysis right there, that Riley Moss is going to be an outside corner, and he's not going anywhere. And I don't think because they drafted Barron, we all of a sudden have to start twisting our opinions on Moss to shoo him out of the way to get Barron outside. No, I think Barron's size is going to limit him from an outside perspective. I think he is best served playing in that nickel role, which I didn't think needed upgrading because of the way Jaquan McMillan has played at that spot the last 2 years. But if the Broncos feel like Barron is simply way too good of a prospect to pass on, I can't tell you how many times I've talked about taking best player available. And sure, maybe that first year it doesn't seem like they have a big role in store for them, but if they end up being a Pro Bowl player, no one's going to look back in a few years and go, oh, I'm so mad they took Barron when we already had McMillan at nickel. No, you're going to be very happy. And I like Jaquan. I think he's a really good ball-hawking corner, and I think he's got a future in this league. But if Barron is going to be a difference maker at that position, him, Surtain, Moss, Hufanga, that's a foursome right there that could be here for the next 4 to 6 years, all intact. And that's going to get you very close to being a complete no-fly zone. We're going to see some incredible, Jumbotron videos of all flights have been grounded out of Denver whenever that trio, foursome, group of 5 is on the field together. How many times are we going to hear incomplete with Pat Surtain and Moss on the outside, and then put Barron in the inside corner spot, and Jones and Hufanga work in the back end? We're going to hear that all game long. So I am excited for the Barron pick. It did take a little bit of getting used to, but never lose sight of, if he is a good player, which I am a big believer that Barron is a good player, then this is a good draft pick. So we'll figure out where he best fits later down the road, but right now I'm going to be half glass full about that selection. Now, there was also this part here. The Broncos instead found their weaponry on day 2, landing Harvey and Bryant. Harvey should be the lead back in Denver as a rookie, while Bryant can work alongside second-year receivers Devaughn, Vele, and Troy Franklin to play next to Courtland Sutton. Let's kind of zoom in for a moment on the R.J. Harvey selection, because that was a much more pressing need for Denver going into this draft than wide receiver was. I am a believer of rookies don't get to skip the line. And so when rookie minicamp gets here and then training camp gets here, I think the veterans are going to be towards the top of the depth chart. And that can change after just one practice. But I do believe it will take one practice. So maybe I'm being too much of a stickler here. But for May 5th, yeah, I think R.J. Harvey is RB2. By September 5th, I think he'll be RB1. But I don't like the idea of guys just going to cut the line. Bo Nix was not QB1 the first day of practice. He wasn't even QB2. It went Stidham, then Zach Wilson, then Bo Nix. So if your first-round pick last year did not jump in front of everyone else for the first day of training camp, then why am I to believe any of these other rookies are going to jump the line? So Harvey as a player is not one of your more prototypical, bigger running backs. He's got average size, a little under 6 foot, 200-ish pounds, but he's got some nastiness to him. He runs with some violence. He's got good receiving upside as well. I know people have mocked him and compared him to Alvin Kamara for Sean Payton in New Orleans. I felt like Kamara was a much more proven receiving threat coming out of Tennessee than Harvey was coming out of UCF, but I feel that he is going to fit nicely in a committee backfield where hopefully a highlight reel Jaleel can still be a nice change of pace back. Harvey can be someone you lean more on for early downs, and then Estime can finish things off and be the goal line merchant and steal all the touchdowns from those guys. And then Bidet is likely fighting for a 53-man roster spot. But there is no question that this running back room needed a major lift in the offseason. They did not do that in free agency, at least not yet. So I was hopeful that it could be something that they address earlier in the draft, and that's where I'll be a hater, and I'll peek through a little bit right now with my half-glass empty approach, which is running back to me was just way too big of a need to let 1, 2, 3, 4 running backs go before pick 60, right? You never had a chance at Genty, so put him to the side, but I know for a fact you could take an Omarion Hampton or Quinshon Judkins or Travion Henderson at pick 20. Sure, maybe a little bit of a reach in some regards, but I felt like running back had to be an issue that you do not let it slip past you and go, we'll get to it when we get to it. So the Broncos make a gamble here, and they go with, maybe that's the RB2 in their eyes, and they're comfortable with that assessment, but I personally am a little bit more queasy about the whole thing. And then Rob Rang from Fox Sports said, like Barron, running back R.J. Harvey offers a resume few can touch. Though he came off the board earlier than I expected, I felt the same about former Illinois wide receiver Pat Bryant, though both play with instincts and physicality well suited for Sean Payton's scheme, as does LSU power edge Savion Jones, a player whose best football still lies ahead of him. So if you're curious what all the talking heads from Bleacher Report and ESPN, all their draft grades kind of come out to, the composite grade for the Broncos is a B-, which draft grades are silly. Never forget when the Seattle Seahawks got an F and they took Russell Wilson and Bobby Wagner and a few other, half-decent players in 2012. It's silly. We really should start adopting a culture where the day after the draft, you grade 3 drafts ago, because then you know what that draft class turned out to be. But everyone always wants to know how their team graded, and everyone gets really upset if you don't give your team an A. So for a B- for the Broncos, reviewing their picks here, this is a Sean Payton draft class through and through, right? You got a best player available at pick number 20, and then his type of guys in Harvey, Bryant, and Jones in rounds 2 through 3 right there. And I don't think the Barron pick is actually what's going to make or break this draft class. I think it's about the volume of picks you made in day 2. Those 3 selections right there. Do you go 1 for 3 or 2 for 3? Hopefully 3 for 3, but if you go 1 for 3, I don't think Barron alone can really elevate going 50% in rounds 1 through 3. And by success, I mean getting a second contract from that team, right? Making a Pro Bowl maybe, but are you someone the team wants to retain, or do they happily let you walk after 4 seasons? So when it comes to that B- grade, I don't think that's all that bad of a grade. I'm not as optimistic as maybe some of you are, which, listen, I would like to be, but I feel that there are a lot of people that no matter what the pick is, are going to give Denver an A. And hey, that's your job as a fan. But I also feel like it's my job not to just pump your tires constantly with everything's great and it's sunshine and rainbows, right? It's like in the movie The Campaign. I do not want to live in, what was it? Not Candyland. Remember that? I'm butchering this right now. Anyway, someone's yelling at me right now and commenting in the comment section. You cannot make me live in a mythical place. All right, whatever. Next up on the show, let's talk about John Franklin Myers' contract situation. He's going into the final year of his contract. He wants a new deal, and there are some other mouths that need to be fed, and we'll talk about what's going on here. But first thing first, I do want to give a special shout out to our sponsor today, which is Brunt. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last. If they lasted, they wrecked your feet. Brunt Workwear finally ended that trade-off, designing boots that withstand the toughest job sites while feeling as comfortable as your favorite sneakers. Founder Eric Giroux grew up blue-collar and started Brunt after his friends in the trades encouraged him to start a workwear brand that was really built for them. That's why all Brunt products are named after the guys he grew up with. For a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt with code CHAT at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com and use code CHAT and you're all set. After you buy, do us a favor, and when they ask where you heard about Brunt, tell them it was from our show. Now, I like wearing Brunt, not because I work with my hands every single day at a construction site, but anytime I do decide to, go out and, go on a longer walk on the weekends, do a hike or anything like that, Brunt is way better than the, more day-to-day shoes that I wear. So Brunt didn't just make a durable work boot. They reinvented comfort for the hardest workers out there. For a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt by using code CHAT at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com and use code CHAT and you're all set. After you purchase, they will ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Let's talk about John Franklin Myers now. Traded from the Jets to the Broncos last year and kind of fell under the radar in 2024 with Benito and Cooper and everyone else attracting so much attention. He quietly put together a really strong season, and he's been looking to cash in off that strong season. And great detective work by producer Trace Moustakis, because he noticed that John Franklin Myers, well, he tweeted this back in 2021 when he signed an extension with the Jets. He recently pinned this tweet, which, listen, in this day and age, that may seem like a nothing burger. I asked Siri for the time. She said it's time to get paid and honored to sign an extension to play on this team and with my teammates. It only gets better from here. Maybe nothing burger, but this is kind of the day and age that we live in right now when players use social media to spill the beans a lot of times or to point people in the right direction or at times point them in the wrong direction and get a good laugh out of, I got everyone worked up off of a nothing tweet, and that's just the way media members operate now. They're looking for anything, and they'll take an inch and drag it a mile. But Myers, that recent pinned tweet, I think he wants everyone to know that he is not going to be, someone to just sit down and patiently wait his turn to get paid. Coming off a 7-sack campaign for Denver, 8 tackles for loss, he knows that his days to get a big contract are dwindling. And he wants everyone to know that he is eagerly awaiting a new contract from the Broncos, and he's going to apply a little bit of pressure on George and Sean Payton. So don't expect to see him at every single voluntary practice, right? He wants the front office to know, if you want me here, pay me like I deserve to be paid. Now, in the middle of June, we're going to have mandatory minicamp. That is just 3 days. I do believe he will be there. Chris Thomason, who does a great job of covering the team, tweeted out, Franklin Myers has worked regularly with Jordan this decade. Jordan, talking about a coach, Jordan came to Broncos Park on occasions last season to do work at the Broncos pass rushers and could do that again in 2025. He also added on to that saying that he expects him to be there at mandatory minicamp. So I'm hopeful that this does not snowball into a bigger story than it has to be, because obviously you want your best players on the field for as much time as possible. I think John Franklin Myers could be looking for a number, and this is just more of like an estimation on my end rather than what I think he's actually asking for. I think he might be looking for something around $20 million a season, which is a decent payday. I mean, Zach Allen, when he signed 2 offseasons ago, he got $15 million in change. DJ Jones just re-signed on a contract where he makes $13 million. So it's a decent jump from what Zach Allen got 2 offseasons ago to what JFM could be looking for around $20 million. You can see what the top 10 make, and if you feel like, hey, he's not very far behind like Deron Payne, then okay, like I guess so. You look at the highest paid edge rushers, because with Denver running a 3-4 defense, maybe he thinks as himself as more of an edge rusher, whereas other teams could view him as an interior guy. But Leonard Williams, like, is John Franklin Myers miles behind Leonard Williams? Probably not miles, right? So if he's making 21.5, is it reasonable to believe with the salary cap going up, JFM could get 20? Not top 10 money. Not far off from it, though. I think it's, if an extension does happen, I think it's going to be somewhere around 15 to 17 million a season. I don't think he's going to get 20. And maybe he'll be happy with just a few more years added on to his deal. So while he's still somewhere in the prime of his career, he can cash in now and not gamble on next offseason and gamble on what he does in 2025. So we'll see if Denver is, going to express any interest in that. I could see the Broncos going, we really have no plans to give him an extension because we got to get Nick Bonito done. We got to get some other guys done. We got to start saving some, nuts and acorns for Bo Nix, which that's still a ways to go. So maybe not that far yet. But they took Devaughn Jones from LSU, similar position. They could view that as a much cheaper replacement and go, sorry, JFM, we don't have the $15 million you're looking for. We're going to let you go in free agency, and we're going to pay Devaughn Jones 1/15 of that to do the job. And sure, he may not be as good as you are, but as long as he's half as good as you are and we're saving 1/15 from what we're going to pay you versus what we pay him, financially it's pretty good value for us. So we'll keep an eye on this one for you guys here. But let me know, do you feel like $20 million is something you'd be comfortable with giving to John Franklin Myers, or are you content to maybe let the season play out, and if he gets more money elsewhere, best of luck to him? Or do you feel like, hey, this is a guy that we can't live without, and he is worth every penny? All right, let's wrap up today's episode by naming a random Broncos defensive end. I like it. All right. I did not come prepared, bad boy scout. I'm trying to think of like a deep cut. Okay, I've got one. Yeah, I've got one. Here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Draymond Jones. Who I think, no, someone did sign him. I don't remember who signed him. But yeah, great job picking Zach Allen over Draymond Jones. All right, I'll see everyone later.